Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm here to give an update on AFRINIC. And mostly, it's the update as well as some of the issues that we notice most members face. So I may start with a question. Who in this room doesn't know what AFRINIC does? Okay, thank you. So that shall save us some time. Yeah, so basically that's the agenda. As you can see, I'll be looking at the actual, what AFRINIC really do, number management, IP number resources management, and then we'll briefly look at a few things like how you can become a member and what you need to do when you have your numbers. There are some of the small issues that most people don't know when they become members of AFRINIC. So we'll try to address some of those gaps along the way. So basically, this is just a summary, like I said, internet numbers resources, as well as management of the number resources. Objectives of managing the number resources, basically, there are three: registration, aggregation, and conservation. The biggest one is registration, which basically is managed under the WHOIS database. So AFRINIC has what is called the WHOIS database. This consolidates information regarding who is using what particular number resource or number resources. So the database itself has what we call objects. These resources, the IP resources, are defined as specific objects that are contained in the database. So we'll look at a brief on some of the resource objects, and then from there I'll pick up two resource objects which we have seen that most members fail to understand and make a proper differentiation. So just a quick review on the database, WHOIS database objects. You see that we have what is called the INET num. This is specifically what describes the IP range that a member gets from AFRINIC. So once you consult the WHOIS database for IP records, if you are looking for a prefix that is given to a certain organization, you have to check for an INET num, or an INET 6 num if you are looking for IPv6. Auth num, I remember being spoken about earlier on. This one represents your autonomous system, whereby the autonomous system defines your administrative, an area of administrative in terms of networks. So the next one is the domain. This deals with the your reverse DNS delegations. So these objects would help you, and the root object, I think earlier on from the first presentation, most of it was talking about MOSRI. So I'm pretty sure most of you got a lot from that. So these are especially the ones that deals with the number resources. But besides that, there are also other objects which help the function of the WHOIS database itself. Some of these include the objects for security. The WHOIS database is a publicly available database. So we have to think of how anyone cannot tamper with the information that is in there. So there is the object that we call the maintainer. The maintainer contains authorization and authentication information regarding any particular object that exists in the database. If we leave any object in the database without any maintainer object or any maintainer value, it means anyone can change that particular object. There will be no control. So as we speak, every object in the database has a particular maintainer, and only a person who holds password for that particular maintainer, can't be able to make changes. On the other side, can also be able to create other objects, like more specific objects, or else root objects, as well as reverse delegation objects. There's the organization. It simply describes who or which organization holds what specific resources. Now, another important object is the person. So we need person information for more reasons. I'll speak of it in the next slide. But these person objects, also known as the nick handle, some of you might have seen somewhere say, I have a nick handle, but I don't know what it does. I don't know what I should do with it. So basically, it contains people's information, but these are people related to a specific organization or to a certain organization who is an AFRINIC member. When there's something happening, these are the people who would be contacted. So the types we have, there are these three types. You can be an admin, a tech, or a zone C. So there are different purposes for all these. And then there is also what we call a raw object. Raw object is another object that functions just the way the person object does. But the only difference is that this one usually is used to describe a role or maybe a team in an organization. So it will contain information regarding a number of separate contacts. I'll talk more in the next slide on that. So what can a point of contact do, the person contact? Basically, for AFRINIC members, one thing that you can do is when you have a person object, you should know that you should be able to log in into My AFRINIC portal. My AFRINIC portal provides our members an interface whereby you can use to manage your own resources, registration of specific usage, registration of reverse delegation, you're creating your root object authorization for RPKI, all these things, you have an interface where you can do it easily. You just need to log in. Once you log in, you should have access to that. Secondly, the importance of this point of contacts is communication. We have various types of communication that we have to do with our members, and these are the people who we get through to. So, and at sometimes there are issues with your networks, and people would like to know who has that specific network range. So who do they contact? Instead of making a quick decision, maybe if your network is misbehaving in one way or the other, instead of just blocking it, they try to reach out to people, but this is where they can find the important information. So these raw objects are referenced in different other objects within the WHOIS database. So as I have spoken that these point of contacts are quite important to consider. There's also an impact of considering having them up to date. We do appreciate the fact that most people or people change roles in organizations as well as maybe move from one company to the other. We realize that most companies don't update in time. And then we've seen issues that have actually affected other members to a point there maybe their account has been closed with AFRINIC. But yet everything is working. And it's just an issue that one contact left and they never updated. So it is, we do encourage members to make sure that time and time again, they review their contacts, the emails, the phone numbers, and make sure that they're up to date. So I spoke of a raw object being similar to the person object. The only advantage that a raw object would give you is whenever people move, you may not have to suffer the consequence whereby a person object is. Because by having multiple people in one object, even if one person moves, you are assured of having the rest of the people available. So if any communication is happening, you would be, some people would easily get that communication. In case whereby even managing your number resources, if one person move and you are using a person object, which means you have to make changes in a number of objects instead of just in one, which is the raw object. You'll see in this graphic, this is how the actual thing works. So these are person objects. You can just, for example, this can be defined as AFRINIC training team. That's a raw object. So how does it work? If you are dealing with only the person object, you may have to take all these three and represent them in. So let's take, these are the INET numbers, with the prefix ranges that an organization has. So you may have to take, if you're using person objects, take all these three and put them in all across all those IP. Otherwise, the better option is use the raw object, whereby you create one raw object, add all these three into one raw object, and just use this raw object into all these. If one person moves away, you don't have to tamper with this. Just remove them from here and update once. That's the end of the story. So most people right now, they are still using this. And what happens is if one person moves, either they'll have to make changes in all this to sanitize their or to update their information. That's a challenge. It will take you a lot of time. Two, sometimes you may even have only one person in this. So if that person moves away, it becomes a challenge for people to contact you in that way. So we encourage people to start using the raw object. In the end, it's important, it will be helpful for your organization. I'll not talk much about this. Maintain object was spoken more as well earlier on during the first session. I'm sure we are all, our brains are still fresh regarding the use of MNT by as well as MNT lower, MNT louts, and MNT domains. So we can go quickly on that. So now I'll give an update on the state of IP addresses or IP resources themselves. First, we are going to look at IPv4. Most of you should be aware that right now we are in the first phase of soft landing. What does it imply? First of all, a member can only get as much as a /13 as we speak. You can't get anything more than that. Secondly, what it means is that all right. So a member can only get a /13 right now, as well as when you need to come for more IP addresses from AFRINIC, you need to show us that you've used 90% of what you have. So basically, that's what it means. And also, when did we get into this first phase? 2nd of April. What does it mean? That means AFRINIC were only left with a /8 of IPv4. This is what has currently been used, and now we are only remaining with 5.5 to reach what we call phase 2. In phase 2, there will only be a /11, and what's the implication in that? People would only, or members would only be able to get a /22 and no more than that. You will be able to come multiple times, but at one go, you can only get a /22 of IPv4. This, at the current consumption of IPv4, we expect it by the next AFRINIC meeting, the African Internet Summit, which will be somewhere in May next year. So by that time, we expect to have reached that level. You'll be able to see the trend that we have observed of late with the consumption of IPv4. So, is it visible? Is it quite visible? Okay. So as you can see from here, this is as from 2017. So 2017 until April, when we reached soft landing, there was quite a higher consumption rate. But then why is it like that? Because before people could come, they could get as much as /10, /11, as well as you could only have to have used as 80%. But when we reached this time, things changed. You have to demonstrate 90%, as well as you could only get up to /13. So that change slowed down things. But as we move through the year until this year, in May, we have seen another sharp consumption rate, which seems to now taking us closer and closer to phase 2. So as I said in the first one, this one shows us that most likely by May next year, we should be in phase 2, whereby you can only get a /22 and IPv4. So that leads us to say, what do we do next? IPv6. So IPv6, we have seen that there's been an increase in the number of members having IPv6, but still there is slow adoption in IPv6. Our team, the capacity building, is having different workshops. Tomorrow, they have a deployathon whole day session, as well as on Wednesday. So you can get to them, reach them. They are also doing some clinics through webinars, as well as a help desk, which they are trying to help members to adopt the IPv6 and announce, or rather would say deploy on their networks. So these are just some quick statistics on the IPv6 itself. So you can see that we still have a lot of IPv6 that is available for members. So we encourage you to come and get some as soon as possible and start working with it for your networks. ASN, we've also seen a good number of members getting their own ASN. It's important for your own independence, as well as you design your networks. It's so much better if you work as independent as much as possible from your upstream. It works better for you. So we've seen a good rise, and then we also encourage those that are not yet having their own to come and get such. So having spoken of the resources now, I'm sure we may have some who are not yet members. What do you need to do, or what do you need to understand about becoming an AFRINIC member? AFRINIC member, you don't have only to be a service provider. You can be a service provider, or you can be what we call an end user customer. An end user customer is the one who is doing other type of business or services, but needs IP address to facilitate their own operations. Service providers are the ones we know providing internet-related services. So why do you need to get your own? Simple facts to help you in that. Easy steps. What do you need to become an AFRINIC member? Go to this site. You need to get this information: organization and point of contact details, certificate of incorporation, detailed IP addressing plan, service regulator's license if it's applicable. I know some services don't need that. And you need to sign what we call a registration service agreement and all that thing. So for those who are not yet members, these are your simple steps you can follow. For existing members who feel that they have used 90% of their prefix and they need more before maybe we even get to second phase, these are the steps you need to do. Important to note are these points: must be in good financial standing, contacts updated. We also need to have this on file, as well as this. The rest of information will be required as well. So you can get prepared before you send your request, so that our evaluation times are quicker and it will best serve you guys. The next one is What do you do now? Oh, these are the steps for you to requesting. You consolidate your information, then you can go and request the resources. Now, after becoming an AFRINIC member or after receiving a prefix from AFRINIC, most people get lost. They do their BGP and starts working with that, but they miss out a few things which becomes important. So these are the things that needs to be taken care of. Create your route objects. We've heard about much about that. Then you can also create your root origin authorization. That was also spoken by Edrich. Register your IP utilization according to how you are using it. And then you also need to think of what services require reverse delegation. Do it. So that's basically the process where you can get to do that. I'll just go quickly. My time is almost. So these are just some quick statistics on the IXPs as well. Of course, later on, I also got to learn that more information regarding the new developments regarding the IXPs, but that's the current status. What's the benefits from AFRINIC? If you're an IXP, 100% discount on your fees. Okay, I think I'll skip for the transfers, and then I'll just encourage the audience to participate in AFRINIC policy development. It helps you if you partake, but it also hurts you if you don't partake. So it's better you partake and then benefit from it. Lastly, these are my simple recommendation. My recommendations to all of us here, if we are to enjoy the best, read and understand the policies, visit our FAQs, read and the member support documents, and subscribe to our mailing list. Thank you for your attention. And if there are any questions, please. Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fabian. I work with Aga Khan University. Thank you, James, for your clear presentation about the AFRINIC services. My question is on AS number. You have shared that up to now, we have only 481 remaining AS number.
Yeah.
Is it not a danger?
Thank you for the question. No, it's not a danger. Yeah, I'll clarify on that. Yes, we have only 481 available in AFRINIC pool, but otherwise there is a policy with IANA whereby when we reach a certain threshold, we request for more. So at IANA level, there's still a lot, in fact. So once we reach that threshold, we request for additional and they provide a new range. Thank you.
Thank you, James, for the presentation. My name is... Okay, I'm not used to this stuff. Okay, so my name is Stephen from AFRINIC, and I'm from the Capacity Building Department. James mentioned the sessions we are going to have tomorrow and the next day. It's not a training, it's actually a deployathon. So the people that are invited are those that are having their IPv6 prefixes from AFRINIC, that is those among those 729, and they wish help actually to deploy in their network. So it's not a training because we have been doing a lot of trainings, and this time we want to really push people to deploy by helping them do the stuff in their network. Okay, thank you.
All right, so as you've heard, I hope you'll be available for that. Any more questions? Thank you all for your time and your attention. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And you'll have to